If you would be so kind as to tell us which chambers are filled with dead people, that would make our job a lot easier.
Well, I did see a newly dead right over there, and I point off to the direction of the guy that got killed by bee stings.
At least we think he's dead.
He looks dead.
But of course, we can't get in the cage, so...
Right. Thank you.
Of course.
Obviously, I heard bees were swarming down there, and you got stung by a few, and I wanted to know if there was anybody who was killed by bee stings, and obviously there are. More deaths that the slave pits don't need.
Yeah, I imagine the reputation you're getting must make it hard for business here.
Oh. In the past 3 days, you wouldn't imagine. We've been scolded and criticized by our bosses.
Yeah.
As if it's our fault. It's more the guards' fault than ours.
Yeah, I could certainly see that.
It's the city's damn fault. Nobody cares about the slave pits. Not even the owners.
It's not a lie.
Yeah.
Just because I run around and do work for the slave pits, don't think I'm supporting their damn business. My job's labor.
Yeah, we all take work where we can get it.
Yes, well... Have you had your suspicions about what's going on here?
Yes, I've told you I think it's magic, but I wasn't working when it happened, and I could tell you all of my fancy ideas, but I don't think they're quite right.
Of course.
You would have a better idea than I would.
Indeed. But, yes. Witnesses would be useful right now. People who have seen the killings happen. And you're the closest thing we have to that as of right now, besides the guards.
Oh, I'm not blaming you at all.
It seems conveniently that some of the guards haven't been around when this happens.
Right, but everybody works in shifts.
Of course.
The weird thing is, no one seems to have seen anything, even the ones that were supposed to be on duty.
Are you suspecting our guards did something? That's a flat question. I'm not loading my question.
Well, it's possible. It's conceivable.
I rather doubt it.
However.
It seems... I don't know, it seemed there would be no purpose.
Yes, it doesn't make sense.
Because they would
The
be
guards
endangering
could-
their own jobs.
Yes. The guards could beat the slaves whenever they'd like. There's no need to go to this level of cruelty. Not even for them.
Right, I wouldn't imagine most of the owners would care all that much if they were just beating them.
You do have to keep in mind, though, this is the coins, and this isn't the most clear part of the city. Everybody has their own motives, and our bosses aren't our only masters. There are priests, cults, a bunch of other things around here.
That is very true. This does feel oddly culty.
Indeed.
And tell me why you think that.
It's just the variety of deaths. And the harm and cruelty of them.
And the sheer variety of the way they were killed.
Yeah. If someone were just trying to make the slave pits look bad, there'd be no need to do such, I don't know, various methods of death. Or such obvious ones. Because, like, stung to death by bees in a cage in the slave pits. If someone wanted to give the slave pits a bad reputation, one would think they'd make it look like the guards were just beating them to death.
But if it were a single cult, wouldn't they do things such as burning them in only hellfire, or just one preferred way of killing?
Yeah. Not
It's
necessarily.
possible. But they could be trying to cover for themselves.
Also true. I didn't think of that.
Or the god they worship has varied tastes.
That's also very possible.
And they also exist.
Some gods are very fickle. One thing one day, another thing the next.
Perhaps it's the cult of Norgorber.
Norgorber.
Although I haven't heard of skin saws being sold lately. It's not a likely time for their activity, but they're not exactly bound to schedules.
Very true, very true.
It's unfortunate. It seems like no one knows what's going on here, and it just seems to happen so spontaneously. Have you been here any other nights when this has happened?
I've been here probably 3 days since the murders.
All around this time?
No, I believe one of the nights I came here in the afternoon. That's usually when I wake up, at least.
That's nice. Well, other people of your order that have been here around nighttime, around this time specifically.
I at least haven't heard anything. Of course, if somebody didn't want to get in trouble for it, they wouldn't be talking.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't have any other ideas, at least the bees are gone now.
That's true.
That is a plus.
Well, yes. Well, thank you for your time.
Certainly, come back if you have any other questions. Feel free to ask the other guards as well.
Of course. I look at Soren and I say, well, I'm not sure how much fruit we've gotten out of this night. It looks like more questions than anything else.
Indeed. It's just, there's no pattern. There seems to be no rhyme or reason to the methods of the murders.
It's true. The one thing that sticks out to me is the Augur Chitin. That makes little sense as to why it would be here. It doesn't belong here.
That is unusual, and that does seem to be the one actual creature that we've seen. Do we know anything else about the Augur Chitin?
You can make a knowledge check to know more things about our Augur Chitins.
Alright, I'll roll for knowledge.
Yeah. Leaf, what do you know about Augur Chitins?
I got a base 9. So. And then
I believe you add
depends
8.
on- add 8.
Nice.
So it's 17, I guess.
Feel free to ask 2 questions about Augur Chitins.
Actually, I don't have any knowledge that adds 8. I have some knowledge that adds 5.
You're not adding your favorite class bonus, though. Because I saw your sheet and you weren't doing that.
Oh,
So you're
okay.
getting more than you think you are.
Okay. 2 questions about Augur Chitins. Well, I ask Soren and I say, well, what were you thinking of specifically?
Well, are they usually solitary, or do they travel with others of their kind or of something else, maybe? Is it like yes or no questions, or?
It can be any kind of questions. It can be things like, do they travel in such ways? Or it can be things like, what are some of their strengths and weaknesses? And things like that.
Okay.
If it's too big a question,
Would
I'll
I
ask
know
you
if
to
they're
narrow
like
it down.
solitary or if they travel in groups?
Usually, if they're doing espionage work for the other Chitins, they'll be alone, because that's simply the most effective way. But if they want to do espionage from a variety of perspectives, then they might travel in a group. Also, if they're trying to assassinate somebody, then they will definitely travel in a group.
Hmm.
Okay. Hang on. So they work for the other Chitons. Okay. It said they didn't know it was... No. They didn't know it was rolling in the blood. They would have known it was there. Where do they come from? Is their home plane the material plane, or is it like another plane? Or did we know that already? We might know that already.
You knew that already, so there's still another question.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You remember that Josh told you that it was from the... They're from the plane of shadow?
Plane of shadow. Okay.
So
So a
odd.
creature from the plane of shadow that serves other larger, more powerful creatures of its kind. They didn't know it was rolling in the blood, but they would have known it was there. Maybe... Plane of shadow. Let's see.
Okay.
So maybe the Chitons, maybe like some of the more powerful Chitons would be behind it? Since the Augur Chiton was there observing, maybe?
It's conceivable.
Or since, well...
Chi-
since they
the
work
Augur
as spies,
Chiton
maybe it's like...
would be
someone
more of a
who's
foot
looking.
soldier, a kind of troop, like a flunky or lackey, but
Right.
it could also be just acting of its own accord. It's hard to tell.
Right. What did it say? Something like, they dismantle me if they knew you saw me, or something like that?
It said that, yeah, it said that, and said that it wouldn't tell us anything about them, whoever they are.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to save that question until later, you can just have that as something that you can float around.
Well, I've got a couple of ideas for the question. I'm just not sure which one to ask, because there's one like, do the Chitons have any enemies that they might be spying on who could be responsible? Or there's like more detailed questions about what kind of Chiton could be working for, if there's any Chiton it could be working for that has an MO of random magical killings. I don't know. Because judging by the look of the creepy ball eye thing, the Augur Chiton, judging by the look of the Augur Chiton, the Plane of Shadow isn't a very pleasant place, so I could see something from there being behind this. It's a good lead, though.
The Augurs they're spies.
Because I can't see it being a coincidence that the Augur Chiton was there.
Do I know how the Augur Chitons get from the shadow plane to here?
You could ask that as a question.
Yeah, I would ask that.
Some of the more powerful Chitons would be so powerful and magical in nature that they could do like gate spells or something like that. On other...
So it would have to be sent.
Yeah, they can't get here of their own volition.
Okay, so something did send it there.
That's disturbing. And usually they're like you said, they're for espionage, so this is a...
Well, they're best suited to it, at least.
I think there's potentially something far worse behind this.
I'm seeing two major possibilities. Either the Chitons are doing it themselves for some unknown reason, or some sort of cult is either made a deal with the Augur Chitons, or is using the Chitons to do sacrifices to whatever god they're worshipping.
There are some powerful wizards who can bind Augur Chitons to themselves as familiars, but they're much stronger than I. So that is possible, but I find it most likely that it's something to do with the Chitons.
That would make sense.